Welcome to this heartfelt story about hope, hard work, and kindness. Today, you will see how love and courage can build a better world, even from the smallest of dreams. We married when we were young, with no money, no big party, no fancy dress or gold. Her name was Sarah. She was kind, and I loved her deeply. We shared one dream. We lived alone, on a rooftop, in an old building with thin walls. Nothing was new. No fresh paint, no bright lights, just hope and love. That night, I wrote in my notebook one simple but true line. I told her softly, "I have no gold, no car, but I have you." Then I added, "One day you will smile in a big house with wide windows." I promised we would build a life from love and hard work. Our first place was a small old room. It was hot in summer and cold when it rained. The roof was metal, the floor was rough, and the door was thin. The air was dry. Every morning, Sarah cleaned and made it look nice. She would smile quietly and say, "This is ours." I worked with wood, fixing old chairs and making small things with care. My hands often hurt from tools and dust, but I came home with love, not fear. Sarah began baking in our warm kitchen. With flour and oil, she made soft bread, then small pies that she wrapped carefully. She shared them with girls she knew. We had no extra money. We counted every coin, paid the rent, and shared our food. But we were fine. We both had dreams, hope, and peace. Sometimes, on quiet nights, we cried when bills were high and dreams seemed far away. But we held hands and talked for hours. We never gave up after a year. We tried selling pies and tea from a cart. The cart was clean, and we worked hard. I fixed the wood, and Sarah served with a smile. One day, men came and shouted. They took our cart and gave us no time. We stood there in shock, our work gone. That night, I wrote again with quiet pride. If we lost this, we only lost one thing, not the mind that built it. Sarah read it, smiled softly, kissed my hand, and wiped her tears. She said, "We will keep trying. We will never give up." We bought books, watched videos, and learned new skills. I learned how to sell and price, how stores grow step by step. Sarah tried new pie recipes, new shapes and spices. We created a name and a logo, Heart Made Pies. That was the beginning. Just the two of us, with tired eyes and quiet nights. We took a small loan to buy a real cart with a proper permit. It looked clean and made us proud. Each day we worked, learned, smiled, and paid what we owed. We told no one, made no noise, just showed up. People returned because they loved Sarah's pies. They said her food was full of warmth. Kids came with coins to buy a piece. She wrapped it gently and made them laugh. Some tipped her, not for the pies, but for the love she shared. Every morning, we woke with hope. We dressed early and left with joy. We pushed the cart through quiet streets. The wheels were loud, the road was cold. Sarah wore her scarf, her hands red from the cold, but her heart full. I held the front, she held the back. We moved together without rushing. While the city slept, we got ready. Sarah packed pies in neat white bags, closed the cart, and I made tea, lit the stove, cleaned the tools, and set the cups. People came, one by one, then more. They stood in line, asked her name, praised her pies, and paid with smiles. Some came every day and told their friends. The cart became known in our neighborhood. One day, a man watched us work, then handed us a card. He said his shop needed good fresh food, and he liked our style and taste. That night, we talked for hours about working with him. I told Sarah, "I trust you." She said, "Let's try, but keep our own way." The next week, we met and made a deal. He took our pies and sold them quickly. He paid us on time and kept his promises. We felt lighter and a bit more peaceful. Each week, we saved a little, kept it hidden, made no noise, ate simple food, bought no gold, fixed our old shoes, and stayed the same. Years passed with sun and rain, but we stayed strong on our path. We even hired a boy to help clean the cart. He came on time and called us Sir. He was kind. His name was Paul. He had lost his dad and helped his mom. Sarah noticed his worn-out coat and sewed a scarf for him. She gave him food, and he called her Ma, while she called him Son. He worked hard and never stopped. One day he told us, "You changed my life," and we both cried softly and hugged him. Over time, we grew, not fast, but steady and sure. Bit by bit, we bought new pots, made new signs, paid off debts, and fixed the roof. We took short breaks, but stayed in town. We never went on trips, just took calm, long walks together. I held her hand, and she held my hope. We kept dreaming of one safe place, with strong walls, a steady roof, and a soft bed. Every night, she talked about that house, with big white doors and wooden floors. She smiled when she spoke, like she was already there. I worked even more, took longer shifts, built new things, taught myself skills, read at night, watched videos, took notes, fixed our accounts, and tracked every pie and coin. Sarah tried new dough recipes, made small cakes, changed the boxes, and tested new flavors while keeping the heart of her food the same. We shared no one our dreams because people might laugh or tell us to stop. Some friends stepped away when we refused quick deals or fake help. We stayed alone, but were not sad because we believed our way was honest, even if slow. We looked forward and kept our path strong. Then, one spring, I saw a post for a house for sale close by. It looked too big and felt out of reach, but I clicked anyway and called the man. He told us to come see. We held our breath and went. The door was blue, the walls white, the yard small, and the rooms warm. Sarah cried, but tried to hide it. I saw her eyes and knew what she felt. We took a big loan, signed the papers, and paid the first amount. We moved in with no couch and slept on mats, but we smiled all night. That was our quiet victory, deep and peaceful. We kept working with the cart, paid every bill, and stayed grateful. We respected our past and loved every scar because it showed our strength. On the wall, Sarah hung up the old line I had once written. The house was small but bright, the walls clean, and the floor warm. Sarah swept and sang every day, cooking with love and care. The roof stayed strong, the rain stayed out, and the nights were peaceful. We slept calmly and woke with hope. It had been a hard fight, but happiness was here. We did not buy fancy furniture. We used old mats, sat on rugs, lit a simple lamp, and drank tea from old mugs. Our son, 10 years old, had his own room. He dreamed big and wrote on the wall with chalk, "Be brave and love your path." He called it home because he knew the story behind every crack. He helped his mum with the pies, cleaned the cart, and one day told us, "This house is us." I kissed his head and agreed. We built it slowly with our hands and effort, not with gold, but with courage and work. The cart still rolled through sun and rain, and we never gave up. Soon, people knew our name and called it honest and true. They came for bread, cakes, tea with spice, and jam with figs. Sarah changed her boxes, added labels, and shared kind notes. I built new shelves from found wood, painted signs, and fixed the wheels. We worked all day, cooked all night, but still laughed and held each other tight. We did not talk about our pain, but we shared our food with anyone in need. One cold day, a thin child stood near without a coat. Sarah ran to give him soup, a pie, and held his hand. He stayed quiet, eating happily and resting calmly. The next day, he returned with a friend who looked the same, and we fed them both. Soon, more children with tired eyes and broken shoes came, and we fed them too. One plate each day, with a kind word, no questions asked. They called Sarah Ma, and me, Sir. They stayed to help, and the cart became more than a shop. It felt like home. One day, a man watched us and took notes. He said he worked with nearby schools and wanted to help. He gave us a grant to feed more kids and buy better tools. We agreed, but only if we could stay true to our way. He smiled and left the money. We used it wisely, bought more pans, cleaned the place, painted the walls, added seats, and played soft songs. Sarah cried, but from love, not fear, for what we had built. She taught 2 girls to make dough, showed them tricks, shared her tools, and laughed with them. They danced and called her Queen. I watched with full heart and thanked her. At night, under a big moon, in a quiet house, I told Sarah, "This is what I dreamed of. Not cars or gold, but this peace." She smiled and answered, "Me too, my love," and held my hand tightly. I kissed her head, hugged her close, and whispered, "We made it here." The city changed, but we stayed the same. We kept our pace and our name. We shared our food and kept things simple, with big hearts. People talked about our small shop. They told the news and shared our story. One day, a girl from a big show knocked on our door and asked to film us. She said, "We love how you live, with kindness and quiet strength." Sarah answered, "We are just 2 people who never gave up." They set up a microphone and some lights. They asked us about our past, and we told them everything with honest words, not trying to look proud, just speaking the truth. The film was shown on a big night. We watched it and held our breath. After that, people called us and sent letters from near and far. One man wrote from another place and said, "Your story gave me hope." A woman sent a small gift and a note, saying she cried and made new plans. We looked around and felt something change, not in our hearts, but in the world. We stayed the same. Our food was still warm, our hands kept working, and our steps stayed slow. But now we knew that small things can grow, that love can build, and peace can win. As I write these words, I know that dreams take time. Winter came quickly. The wind was strong, the sky was grey, and the streets were cold. Sarah woke before sunrise and made warm tea. She put on 2 coats. I cleaned the cart, fixed the lock, checked the pies, and folded the cloths. The group of kids came at 10. We gave them food and love. One girl was sick and couldn't eat. She looked so weak, holding her chest. Sarah sat next to her, touched her hand, sang a song, and wiped her tears. We called a nurse from nearby, who came right away and checked the girl's pulse. She said the child needed a warm place and good soup to heal. So we closed the shop for half a day to clean and plan. We made a small room with dry mats, toys, books, and soap. I told the nurse, "We don't have much money, but we have space and time." She smiled and said kindly, "That's what matters, care and calm." More kids came in with tired eyes. They took off their coats and breathed deeply. We cooked soft food and passed the plates. Sarah said a quiet prayer, giving thanks for strength and peace. One boy hugged her tightly and said, "You saved my only hope." I worked at night to build small beds with old wood, fixed the lights, painted the walls, and built shelves for games and socks. We turned that space into a simple home, not fancy, but safe and warm. People came by, bringing old clothes and shoes, leaving with smiles. Sarah taught the girls to bake bread, sharing her tips and tools. I showed the boys how to fix wheels, use a drill, and trust their hands. They learned fast and laughed loud, calling me boss and working with pride. I told them, "You can do more. Just start with care and never give up." One rainy morning, the streets were wet and the power went out. The kids held hands and stayed inside. We lit one lamp, sang a song, made games with string and chalk, told old stories, and drew maps. When the lights came back, no one had cried or felt afraid. A rich-looking man came to our shop. He looked around, saw our work, and said, "Respect." He told us he worked with local jobs and wanted to help us train more kids. I told him, "That sounds good, but we go slow and like to talk first." He agreed, gave us his card, left kindly, and even put money in our jar. Sarah smiled and held my hand, saying, "People see us now, but let's stay kind." I nodded and kissed her cheek. I said, "Always, no matter what." Our cart was old, but still worked. The kids still helped. The food still sold. One boy, who could draw, made new signs. He painted a bird and a bright light. We put his work on our shop door, and people praised it. He cried with joy, hugged his mom, and said, "I'm proud of me." The months passed quickly. Days were busy, nights were short, and dreams grew bigger. We didn't stop to count our wins. We just kept giving. Some days were hard. We lost bread, a cart, or a light, but we stayed strong, fixed what broke, and kept singing and cleaning. One week in March, Sarah got sick. She couldn't stand or speak. I made her tea and sat by her side, doing her work and praying each night. The kids brought her soup, sang songs, and held her hand. She smiled weakly, but her eyes were bright. She said, "They learned. They grew so strong." By May, Sarah got better. Her laugh returned. She baked again and walked with happiness. I cried quietly behind the door, not from fear, but from relief. I thanked the stars, our work, and the time we had. I thanked the road that led us here. Then I looked outside at our street. It felt like home. It felt whole. A woman from City News came by. She wanted to write about our shop. She took notes, watched how we worked, and spoke with the kids. She noticed their hands and asked why we didn't grow bigger. She said we had a good name and could be big. I told her we liked staying small because we could see each face and feel each day. She paused, smiled, and closed her notebook. She said, "That's rare and very wise." She published the story in a local paper, and the news spread through the town. More people came, leaving with joy. They offered help and brought gifts, but we still cooked and cleaned the same way. We stayed small, we stayed true. At night, we rested with tired feet but full hearts. We held each other's hands. I looked at Sarah and saw her shine, bright like the morning sun. She looked at me with soft eyes and said, "We did what we dreamed." I told her, "Not yet. There is still more ahead. But yes, we built a world with love." The next morning came with soft light. The sky was clear and the wind gentle. I woke slowly and stretched my arms. I looked outside and heard the birds. Sarah was already up making tea. She kissed my head and smiled. The room felt warm. The air was calm. Our hearts were full. Our hands were strong. The shop was peaceful. The kids came and took their seats. They did their chores. One cleaned the floor. One stacked cans. One sang a song. Another told a joke. We served them soup and bread. We listened to them. We gave them time. No one rushed. No one shouted. We just let life move gently. A boy named Leo brought a gift, a book he made with colored ink. It showed our story in small pictures, from the first cart to now. He drew every face and wrote one line. "This shop is full of hearts." Sarah cried and hugged him tight. She told him, "This book means more than gold." One mother came with her baby girl. She looked tired, holding her close. She said, "I came here when I was lost. You gave me rice and a place to breathe." Now she stood proud, working and happy. She made us a cake to share her joy. We clapped and took a bite. We tasted hope and care. Later that week, a man with a small camera and a soft voice came by. He said, "I heard this place is kind. I want to share your story." Sarah laughed and said, "We are shy, but okay, just tell it real." He filmed our smiles, the kids, and the board, with dreams and stars. That film traveled far. It touched new hearts. It crossed seas and reached strangers. People wrote from different places. They sent us notes and shared their love. One school sent books. One cook sent tools. A nurse visited to teach first aid. We had never asked, but we gave care, and care came back in ways we only dreamed. One night, I stood and looked around. The walls were clean. The shelves were full. I saw each chair, each name, our team, and our steps. Sarah came to me in a quiet voice and said, "It's time to rest a bit." We closed our eyes, thankful for the past, and smiled about what was ahead with no regrets. This was not luck. It was not quick. It came from years of effort and small steps. It came from hard work, open hands, tough days, and warm soup. It came from trust, from giving more, from trying again after mistakes. And now we could see the love we had built, the space we made, and the peace we created. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave us a comment about your own dreams and how you never gave up. Let's inspire each other to keep going together.